It is the 200 level. I didn't say it last week, but I'll say it today. Holy shit. Illinois, with their second straight top 5 road win. This time, exacting revenge against Nebraska. And it was that very same Nebraska team, for those that watch this podcast and remember, that set me off on quite the tailspin back in December. Oh boy, I was livid. For this team to do what they have done in the last 11 games, so much credit has to go to Brad Underwood. And I've been critical, and if the time calls for it, I will be again. But it is very difficult to be critical of what we've seen these last 11 games. The way they have rebounded as a team since that loss in December, where we saw a lot of the same things that were really bothersome about last year, and maybe even the Matthew Meyer year, an inability to stop teams, an offense that despite the efficiency would go stagnant in spurts. That's gone. That's done. And replaced with a team that is remarkably resilient. And to borrow a word from Trevor in the text thread, composed. You don't just go into, and I know this is going to sound ridiculous coming out of my mouth, you don't just go into Pinnacle Bank Arena and get a win. Sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Not with this Nebraska team. Michigan State couldn't do it. They lost by 2. We'll see what other teams or how other teams fare when they go to Lincoln. But this was a tough environment against a team that had just lost their first game of the year. And the question was, how would Nebraska respond? Well, at the end of the first half, I would have told you pretty well when they went on that 14-2 run. And you're thinking, God, Frager is back. And he's just bothersome. Just his face. All right, we're back. This happened with the last one, so we'll hopefully figure out. I'm back, KD. Just let me know if the sound is okay. It's an easy fix. All right, I think we're back. We'll give this a shot here. I'm going to give it a second to just kind of load. How we doing, Jazzy? Brick Girl, we okay now? All right. We'll give this a shot. I think we're good. Okay. Where was I? Frager. Bothersome. Maybe it's the Matthew Meyer look. I don't know. He goes off. 5 threes off the bench. You're thinking, you got to be kidding me. This guy was just injured and questionable. And then he comes in with his best, what was it? Walt Frazier, Clyde Frazier, the Knicks guy that came in hurt in the NBA Finals. Does his best impression of that, and you're thinking, oh, God, are the cards really stacked against us here? Because of the environment, because of Nebraska coming off of a loss themselves, and that you were going to get their best shot. But this team kept plugging away. And as I'm watching that second half, in full disclosure, what I did to kind of offset my own anxiety in watching some of this was we had a band rehearsal here and we were recording some stuff. And I had the game on and me and the drummer especially are really in tune and watching it. And I'm keeping a close eye on it as we're getting some stuff done. But what it's allowing me to do is watch it and not get too emotionally pent up in it. But to see the way in which this team so coolly and calmly responded in the second half, time and time again, was, I don't know, I think impressive is almost an understatement. And for them to have this on the tail end of an 11-game win streak, which I don't presume will end against Northwestern at home, so you should hopefully get to 12 before you go to East Lansing. This was not, to use this cliche, on my bingo card after the game in December. It just was not. And we're standing here February 1st with a team that has a legitimate shot to win a Big Ten title, has 2 very, very impressive wins at Purdue, at Nebraska. I'll throw at Iowa in there as another sneaky, impressive win, if you can even call it sneaky. And you're starting to get an idea of this team's identity that goes beyond the offensive efficiency and goes beyond a defense that is getting the job done. What it starts delving into is character. And that is an intangible thing that's difficult to quantify. And I don't want to speak too poetic about a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds that are now getting paid as they should and are essentially semi-professional basketball players, if not professional. However, when you compare and contrast last year's team and this year's team in terms of their mindset and their ability to overcome bumps in the road, it's night and day. And just as I started this podcast, I'll circle back around the fact that that is the biggest credit to Brad Underwood. He's always been good at accruing talent, always. He's been pretty consistently good at identifying systems that work for his players. And even within seasons, you've seen him adjust. So there is that flexibility that I've always appreciated about him. The question was in-game adjustments, however that may look in the course of a game, his finger on the pulse of a game. Today, it was masterful. And I think what we're seeing is a team that is responding more often and quicker to whatever adjustments are being made from Tyler or from Cam Crocker defensively and from Brad Underwood himself. And for them to weather that 14-2 storm, that barrage at the end of the first half and come out and play a second half for the ages. I mean, I want to make sure I get this right. You outscored Nebraska at Nebraska 45-30 in the second half. You were trailing by 6 at halftime. You immediately go on a 6-0 run to start that second half. And off you go. You're in control essentially the entire second half against a team that I thought acclimated themselves quite well today in Nebraska, and to me looks like a second weekend team. Well, you just went on the road to a second weekend team and did this. What does that say about your prospects? It is okay to say right now, as it stands, this could be Brad Underwood's best Illini team. The Io Kofi team got a 1 seed. And at this point in the year, they were not 18-3. They had, I think, 5 losses on their schedule already to Baylor in the non-conference, a couple home losses to Maryland, Ohio State, Missouri on the road. I know it was the weird COVID year, but they were not this good at this point. There was nothing with this team that would suggest that they're somehow going to get worse. If anything, I would imagine they only get better. And to see, yes, Keaton Wagler be the magnificent player he is, and there's no hyperbole that can really encapsulate how good this kid is. That's one thing. To see the consistent contributions elsewhere today, and even the likes of an Andrej Stojakovic, who was so bad again in the first half, but came through late. Benham Rickhouse didn't score. I know. He 0 for 6. It kills you. You just needed one of those things to fall, and they look good. I thought he was back. I guess that's just how that cookie crumbles, but it doesn't matter when you get 10 from Mirkovic. When you get 13 from Jake Davis. Tommy looked really good. The 10 points he had in the first half were sorely needed. Big Z returned to form, 7-7. So all of that to say, you had a 7-man rotation. You only played 7 guys. Keaton Wagler played 38. So I think Mirkovic got the other 2 at point. And you put together this win, knowing that you get 3 days off after this. I'm just immensely impressed by Brad Underwood and this team. And it is such a far cry from where we were in early or mid-December after that home loss where we thought, oh my God, are we seeing the same kind of pattern over and over again of not always being up for it? No, this team has been up for it consistently since. And speaking of Ben, you're right, Micah, that block towards the end down the stretch was huge. There were so many little plays throughout. So do me a favor. I want to hear from you in this post-game show. Husker Woo, for any alt-rock fans. Husker Du was a band out of Minneapolis back in the 80s. So I've done Husker Doe or something like that before. So we're doing Husker Woo. I know it's a little bit obscure, but Woo is an appropriate celebration for this, as is, hello, Sunday evening, I got my old-fashioned. 5 o'clock, make one of these for my wife and I. So cheers to you. Before I get too far into this, and thank you guys for weathering that technical issue at the start of it. I will try to figure out what the glitchy part is because my computer's been whacking out and I'm starting to freak out that there might be technological issues I need to nip in the bud. But we are here. And do me a favor, chat window. If anything happens to kick off, just let me know. We will stay live. We will be good to go. All right. Second time today, man. We're double dipping. Hamilton Walkers, steak, seafood, and spirits, right in the heart of downtown Champaign. It's not going to be as cold this week, but when you got highs in the 30s and you're looking for a nice, cozy place to go have a delicious steak dinner, there's no better place than Hamilton Walkers. In the wintertime, you can go back to their cozy dining room, and it is cozy. It's got red, leather, round booths. I love a good booth. If you're like me, you request one if they got it. They bring the bread out with the butter and the herb butter that they make in-house, along with everything they make in-house. And a bone-in steak, medium or medium rare, however you like it. Old-fashioned, of course. Theirs is better than mine, admittedly. And steak fries, if you're feeling comfort food, mac and cheese. If you're feeling more healthy, New Year's resolution kind of thing. Asparagus, green beans, but family-style sides that you can share with those around you. Hamilton Walkers, date night, Valentine's Day coming up, for example, or something more informal like a pre- or post-game meal. Hamilton Walkers in downtown Champaign. Also, State Farm agent Brian Hansen online at brianismyguy.com. Life, auto, home, business, renters, you name it. Brian is my guy, and he can be your guy as well at brianismyguy.com. He's a big Illini fan, so I know he's having a bit of a celebration himself after that huge win in Nebraska. So easy to work with. His staff have been taking care of us now for 5 years, and they are so quick to respond to any questions we have. And you also get State Farm prices, which are as competitive as any in the industry. That's State Farm agent Brian Hansen, online at brianismyguy.com. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. Give them a call at 217-841-4728. Join their maintenance program. No overtime or weekend fees, guaranteed same-day service. In the spring, an AC check. In the fall, a furnace check. Our furnace has been kicking butt in what has been a very cold winter. This is the third year in a row we've been part of their maintenance program, and it is worth every penny for the peace of mind alone, let alone the work that they do on your system. Ours is older, but you wouldn't know it. It is humming right now. That's Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, 217-841-4728. Finally, Owen Builders LLC, online at owenbuildersllc.com for your next home improvement project. Check out a gallery of their work online at owenbuildersllc.com. A lot of cool stuff. And you can get a free quote while you're there as well. All right. Champagne Showers Podcast Network. Appreciate them. Appreciate you, the listener, the viewer. We got about 250 people in there on this Sunday evening. 3 o'clock start. As I mentioned, we were doing some band stuff here in the studio. Kept me from getting too high or too low, but I felt in my plums that Illinois was going to win this game. And I wrote in the book, the 200-level book, I've talked about this before, gut feel. And I don't know how accurate it is. I think I do need to keep a running tab of gut feels. I felt good about this. And I thought, you're going to win. From Nebraska's perspective, here's one reason. I thought you're getting a team that's not fully healthy. Clearly, Rank Mass was not. I know he started practicing on Friday after the dehydration. He was in the emergency room getting fluids in Michigan. He wasn't 100%. He didn't look right. Frager off the bench, of course, has his magical night. He just bothersome, very bothersome. Thing is, though, I say all that. I don't hate Nebraska because Fred Hoiberg is a good dude. By every account, a good dude. And if you think about it, we still kind of owe that Big Ten championship in 2022 to Fred Hoiberg himself because of the win he got at Wisconsin that afternoon. So I will never dislike Fred Hoiberg, and it's a perfect fit for him. They're still a good team. They're still very capable of making a deep run in the tournament. They just happen to play two top 5 caliber teams, and that is where Illinois should be tomorrow, in the top 5. They should be number 5. I'm not sure how everything else kind of shook out, but you should just trade places with Nebraska. That is 2 top 5 wins on the road in the last 8 days. And it's hard to say which one's more impressive. I think this one, as a team, is more impressive. The Keaton Wagler 46 points, that's one thing. But to do this with his 28, coupled with, I thought, a really concerted team effort. And I'm just kind of beside myself, to be quite honest, because this team is bucking every fear that I had back in December. It was the Alabama game. It was certainly the UConn game, as good as they are. And then the Nebraska game at home. You were 8-3 after the non-conference, 1-1 in Big Ten, and you're thinking, okay, we're good. We know that. And I come on this podcast knowing this team is good, saying Operation 3 seed. Why? Because that is the kind of thing that can help you feel a lot better about making a second weekend and maybe a deeper run. You don't want the 4, you don't want the 5, you want to avoid that. Guys, we aren't talking Operation 3 seed anymore. We're talking Operation 1 seed. And more encouragingly, your floor has just immensely raised. A win like this sticks. A win like Purdue, and I know they lost at Indiana last week. Don't care. That win sticks. Texas Tech, Tennessee, that sticks. At Iowa, Missouri, looking better and better. You have no quad 2, 3, or 4 losses. You hold that into the bargain and have a good quad 1 record. At worst, you are a 2 seed. At worst. I'm starting to think this team might be a 1 seed. You have a superstar. Keaton Wagler is potentially the best Illinois basketball player I've ever seen. That might be a grand proclamation to say right out like that, but think about it. The numbers would bear that out. The eye test would bear that out. And what we're seeing from him is, I can't think of a comp other than Darren Williams' junior year in terms of a guy who runs the show. Everything goes through him. So cool, calm, and collected. He's composed. He's a pro. And that evaluation by Tyler Underwood and then to his dad changed the entire complexion of the season. This team would have found a way to be good without Keaton Wagler, but they would not have been great. There's no way. Keaton Wagler ups both the floor and the ceiling immeasurably. We are watching a special talent who will be a star in the NBA. And I'm no NBA aficionado, but he's got the size, he's got the skill, and most importantly, he's got the mental fortitude to do so. We're seeing that every game. He is unflappable. He's getting better somehow. I don't know how, but he's getting better. And we are so lucky to be watching that brand of basketball. He is so easy to root for because he does everything right. He's a stone cold killer, babyface killer. And I just love watching this kid play. And you know his teammates do too. But what's really exciting about today's win in particular is to see the sort of synergistic thing now going between Keaton Wagler. He's our dude. We can sit back and let him do some things, but seeing some more assertiveness from the supporting cast. And the fact that a guy with the talent level of Tomislav Ivisic is now supporting cast. I mean, everybody relative to Keaton Wagler is the supporting cast. But I just love the degree to which the supporting cast was a little bit more alpha today. And that was on the boards, that was defensively, and that was offensively too. They really did, I thought, a fantastic job of sharing that ball around. It all starts with Keaton. He's a special guy, but I really appreciated the fact that the other guys were not just standing back and watching. I got that sense of Purdue where I'm thinking, guys, somebody do something, please. Keaton's doing his. We're going to waste a special performance if you guys don't do something. Well, they did. You know, Tommy got the 2 threes late. Jake Davis, Mirkovic got a 3 each as well to help close that game out. You didn't need to wait for that run against Nebraska. Here's the other thing, too, and don't let this get lost on you. Nebraska doesn't have a Braden Smith. No team has a Braden Smith. There was one guy in this conference that could go toe-to-toe with Braden Smith and better him, and that's Keaton Wagler, who right now should be the favorite to be Big Ten Player of the Year. I don't want to hear that Braden Smith senior, Lifetime Achievement Award bullshit. Keaton Wagler is better than him. He is straight up better. So he's got a whole other month here. He's only going to keep getting better. And if I see at the tail end of this that we're awarding a guy because he spent 4 years in the league, I will be very frustrated with the media and or coaches, whoever does that. But I don't think they're going to have a choice. This might sound hot takey, guys, but we are watching the best Big Ten basketball player. We're watching the best individual season in Illinois basketball history. And the supporting cast ain't half bad either. But the guy is a superstar. And if this team makes a Final Four, and I think they have a pretty good shot to do that the way they're playing right now, his jersey is going up in the rafter after one stinking year, and he would deserve it. You show me, Nike. You give me that Stitch Keaton Wagler jersey. I'm buying that thing first opportunity I get. You cannot heap enough praise on this kid. It's unbelievable. What would I say? We see Curt Cignetti win a title with Indiana, right? Craziest sports story I've ever seen from a coaching perspective, from a program building perspective. In trying to think about individual players and things that are just anomalies that you don't see, true superlatives, right? Where hyperbolic language does not actually match the reality. Keaton Wagler is one such player. So if you are ready for a 2-month Keaton Wagler love fest, strap in. This is your podcast. The guy's that freaking good. I don't think we can belabor that point. I don't. But as I said, it was the fact that Tommy had the first half that he did. That Jake Davis, man, what a tough kid. There was a silly foul late, I know, on Hoiberg, but it ultimately didn't matter. Just balls of steel on that kid. 4 for 6 from the line, which, okay, you'll take that for someone that doesn't shoot many, but 3 for 6 from 3. I love his little dribble step back. You know, he does the pump fake, dribble to the left, step back 3. He did that at Purdue. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Mirkovic, Mr. Consistent. Second best player on the team right now. 10-8. Made his 2 free throws at the end, help ice it. Didn't make a 3 tonight. That's okay. Only 1 turnover. For a guy that's high usage like that, that's fine. And really, Illinois did a great job protecting the ball today. Not turning Nebraska much over either, but that's just sort of how this defense is structured. And here's what you did defensively. You held Nebraska to 42% shooting. Nebraska shot 43% from 3, 15 made threes, and you still won. But here's the key. And this is where you acquiesce some of those shots. And it didn't work back in December against Nebraska. It worked tonight. 4 for 5 from the line for Nebraska. Illinois, 21 of 26. If you don't foul the opposing team, this is going to sound duh, but if you don't foul them, it's that much more difficult for them to score points. It seems simple. 40 to 27 rebounding advantage for Illinois. 9 offensive boards. 15 assists to Nebraska 17, so pretty even there. 3 steals for Illinois, 5 for Nebraska. 6 blocks for Illinois. The size mattered in this game. 8 turnovers for both teams, but points of the paint. Illinois had a game plan. Kudos to Tyler Underwood, who I'm sure was the one that put it together. 28 points in the paint, knowing that Rank Mass was not going to be himself, and he's not a prototypical center anyway. 28 points in the paint to 18 for Nebraska. That right there is basically the margin of the game. 10 second chance points for Illinois, 8 for Nebraska. Fast break points. It's not part of Illinois' thing. 3 to Nebraska's 8. Points off turnovers, about even. Biggest lead for Illinois, 11. Nebraska, 7 in the first half. Fouls, 19 for Nebraska, 10 for Illinois. Just a remarkably well-schemed, well-executed game. And a quad 1A victory if there ever was one. Freaking awesome. All right, let's get to the chat window here and just throw them in there. I'm just going to go right down the list, starting with Jazzy. Highest offensive Ken Pom rating ever again. You know, Jazzy, I'm going to try to pull this up here and see if Ken Pom has, in fact, updated. And if Illinois is even higher. At the moment, they're still listed 19-3, and they are 5th, but they did inch a little bit higher in the rankings. Michigan State looms there at 9th. They did not look good against Michigan on Friday, but that might be more to do with Michigan. Illini Brickroll, the coaches have figured it out. Hell yeah. I'm one that will not shy away from praise where it's due. They are due a ton of praise for the way that they've handled this team the last 6 weeks. And before the season, the way that they structured or put this team together in the first place. From Jazzy as well, it was nice to see Tommy's high post passing utilized today. Yes, it kind of felt like a throwback. That was so important to the team last year. From B. Mills. Thankfully, Nebraska cooled down from 3, and as Illini Brickroll says as well, they figured out how to keep it together and withstand the 3 barrage. I forget how many Nebraska scored in that first game back in December. Probably about 15, right? It felt like it, certainly. Sanford probably had 8 on his own in December. And, yeah, he was his normal self today, which was so nice. Every missed 3 from Nebraska down the stretch was like, oh, damn, we're winning this game. There's no magic here. We're better than them. All right, let's see here. From Micah. How do you think this team compares to the Kofi Io team? Got to be close, if not better. Boy, that team was balanced, Micah, offensively and defensively. And I think Ken Pom, for them back in the day, they were, I want to make sure I get this accurate, they finished 4th in the country. They were the highest seeded team to not make at least an Elite Eight. Ugh, that was, don't remind me. Do I think they're better, Micah? I don't know. I think that they are better equipped to make a run because the offense is just cooking. And you have a dude that refuses to not let it cook. Like that Illinois team, I loved Io, for example, but so predicated on the mid-range jumper, which is just by basketball IQ now, that's not the shot you want. That was his game. And Kofi was a banger down low. So if you could somehow negate that and you weren't getting a three-point barrage from Trent, or I guess DeMonte made some that year, Jacob Grandison would make some as well. I don't know. It was, I guess, a little easier to see how that team could be game planned against offensively. Or I should say the opposing defense, how they would game plan for Illinois' offense. I don't know how you do that this year because there's been tape on Keaton Wagler all year, and the dude's getting better. And he's making everyone around him better. They score at the rim, and they score from 3. Just to be sure that I'm not speaking out of school here, for 3 today, Illinois 9 for 30, 30%. Okay, they shot 33s. They're going to do that most every game, and they have been around 35% this year. If they hit their normal rate, they're winning this game by 15 or 16 points. Now, if you take away Ben Hemrickhouse and his 6 misses, Ben, you would have finished 9 of 24. So that would have been a really good. I'm trying to think here if I do some quick math. About 38% maybe. That would play. But yeah, I think that Micah, this team, gun to the head, I think they're better because I think Keaton Wagler is better than Io. And I don't think that's blasphemy either. And I know Kofi was a special talent, but I do think this team is more balanced offensively. Now, the Andre Curbelo thing, I don't think Petro is going to do anything similar to that because that was the team's sort of secret weapon and down the stretch the last month of that year. But this team, as they're constructed, and when they get Kylan back to help defensively, which will be mostly his role, I think that they are, as a whole, better. Yes. All right, this is from Illini Brick Girl. What happened in Nebraska today is exactly why many media people thought they wouldn't go deep in March. I don't know. I actually watched that Brick Girl and think they are going to be fine to make a second weekend. But it's all matchups, right? If you look at the Big Ten, the 2 best teams are Michigan and Illinois. That's it. And I think you're closer to Michigan than Nebraska is to you at this moment. Nebraska had a crazy heater. I think they're still going to finish, probably get a 3 seed in the tournament because they have quality wins there. I think we'll get a few more. But you are sitting at worst a 2 seed right now, and you are right there in the driver's seat to win a Big Ten title. You get Michigan at home. And I think those are the 2 Final Four threats. I think Nebraska is a second weekend threat along with Michigan State and Purdue. But I think the 2 best chances for this conference to reach the Final Four are Michigan and Illinois. Wouldn't that be something? From Dalton. Unbelievable. They threw so many different coverages at our offense, and it felt like 1 through 5 made the right decisions over and over and over. Dalton, I think it's important to mention just how smart this team played tonight. You're right, especially down the stretch. You know, you're nursing that 9-point lead. It was hovering around 9 for a while. Every pass, every inbounds, you know, even just sort of the way that they were drawing fouls, knowing how to absorb the contact, not turn the ball over unnecessarily, just smart. And it starts with Keaton, but it was really everybody. It was only the 2 fouls, one from Jake and one from David, down on the other end that gave Nebraska free throws that I thought, oh, that's the first dumb thing I've seen from this team in a while. It didn't bite you because he had a big enough lead, but man, from David, Wagler running the show is making all of the difference in the world. From Brick Girl, Andre tried too much ISO early on, but adjusted to a role that was important. Yes, and I thought Andre's second half was really impressive, and I thought encouraging. You know, he has been worrisome. I looked up the stats. There was a stretch from mid-December through mid-January where 6 out of 7 games he had double digits, was averaging about 15 or 16 points a game for about a month. In the last 6, he's had one double-digit game, and that's the 30-pointer. It's like, damn, just spread that around a little bit, man. We don't need one 30-point game and then a bunch of crap. I think the second half, I would love to think that can get him going a little bit. And when I say get going, it's really find your role, be efficient offensively, because that's what he has been missing. He's taken to the rim. He's thrown it off the backboard, not even, getting close to making it. Second half, he seemed to settle in. There was that one nice little, backwards layup, made his free throws. I think a really big half for him. From Bobo, what a second half by Wagler. Sucks that he's going to be one and done. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, Bobo. It doesn't if you make a run. If you make this worthwhile, you make a Final Four with Keaton Wagler, it's worth the one and done. You win a Big Ten title and make a Sweet 16 Elite Eight. It's worth it. Are we taking that? I think it's okay to start negotiating in our heads, what would we constitute as a successful or not successful season? Well, you right now, on February 1st, are tied for the lead in the Big Ten. And you have more impressive wins than Michigan. And you get them at home. Trevor put it best in our thread. Just get to that game against Michigan within one game of them. As long as you're within one game of Michigan, because the 2 games after that to close the Big Ten are Oregon at home, and they stink this year, and then at Maryland. And I know it's Maryland, but they are god-awful. So at this point, now that you've won 2, I kept looking at these 3 road games and saying, win 1. You're 2-0. And the way Michigan State looked on Friday, I think you got a great shot of winning up there. I'm not holding anything against this team or putting anything past them as to what they're capable of. All right, from Bobo as well, the Ivisic brothers was the first half and second half was Wagler with Jake Davis hitting shots. Yeah, and you're right, Jake was good in both halves. And this is also from Bobo. Wagler is the first D1 player over the last 20 years to have multiple 25-plus point games and road wins over AP top 5 teams. Bobo, if you could find, do you happen to know the name of the last player? If it was last 20 years, I wonder what player had multiple 25-plus point road games or games in road wins against top 5 AP teams. Billy says, bring on MSU. I like the matchup. I do. Because you know what you don't do, Billy? You don't turn the ball over. What does Michigan State need? They need transition offense. They couldn't get it against Michigan. They are not going to get it against you. They were last year because Kasparis went out. And then, what do you have? 5 fouls in 4 minutes or something ridiculous like that. Will Riley went off, but other than that, you were kind of a mess. And then Michigan State won. And then, of course, last year. Now, I don't know if there's enough guys on this team. There's Tommy, and there's Ben, and there's Kylan. So there's enough that remember the way that Terrence Shannon jersey unveiling night went. So maybe there's a little bit of extra juice going into that game. I love that you get Northwestern smack in the middle of the week. Stay fresh. Hopefully coast to a win because they have not been good away from home. And then you go on the road and take care of business. At which point, I mean, we're already talking 1 seed, guys. If you win at Michigan State, I think you lock up a 2 seed then in early February. I don't see, barring a bunch of bad losses, after getting another quad 1A, if you win at Michigan State, this team getting lower than a 2 seed in the tournament. Insane. From Frodog, does this team play better without Boswell, or are we going to be that much stronger when he comes back? Good question, Frodog. There's not a easy answer because there's chemistry issues, and I don't mean like personality. Everyone loves Kylan. But the actual, playing together. I'm not worried about it because Kylan's a veteran. I don't think his role changes that much. I think Jake Davis, this has been such an awesome opportunity for him, and I think he's going to be just as good off the bench. And it's not like Boswell's going to come back, play 30 minutes a game right away. He's a defensive stopper. So let's say he plays Michigan State because Brad seemed to indicating he's getting close. He's getting close. Got to get him in game shape, but no pain, and it's not going to get injured again. He would have a cast. I think he's going to play against Michigan State. I think he's going to play against Jeremy Fears, who just loves running into people and flopping and flailing all over the place. That's his game. They were very annoying to watch Friday. And like I'm watching with my wife who's a Spartans fan. And I'm like, they don't look good. And then I got a buddy who in our chat, it's like, I can't wait to play Michigan at their place, beat them by 30. I was like, that ain't going to happen because they got outclassed. And you are more in Michigan's class than Michigan State. That's not to say this is better than a coin flip because you're at Michigan State. That's hard. If this were at home, I would have very little doubt that this team would get it done. It's on the road, tough environment. Michigan State will need a win like that. But I don't know, man. I think they win. Shoot. I mean, I thought going into this that Nebraska, oddly enough, was the easiest just because I knew that talent-wise, Michigan is a juggernaut. And Michigan State we've just not been great up there. Or we've been good for 30 minutes and then we just fall off. So I kind of have PTSD from those games. Well, you beat Purdue at Mackey. You beat Nebraska. I don't see any reason why you don't get it done at Breslin. You're better than them. So I think I would say Boswell comes back for that game, and he just D's up fears. Fine. There you go. And then that allows Keaton to save some energy on that end. I mean, you can put Stojakovic on fears as well. And I thought Stojakovic was good defensively today for the most part as well. This is also from Brick Roll about Boswell. Having him will decrease the team's ability to go on those long offensive stretches because of his defense. I think so. Like, you will give up the 3 ball. If you got him in there instead of Jake Davis, right, which is going to happen, you'll be giving up that 3 ball. I think what that means is you might see a few minutes siphoned off of Stojakovic to get Jake Davis in there earlier. Or you might be picking and choosing the 4 or 5 minute stretches to put Boswell out there to be a dog on defense. But I'm not really worried about him disrupting any chemistry. The team loves him. They were playing well together with him. I mean, they were on a 6 or 7 game streak when he got hurt. And I don't think today's result would have been any different had he played. In fact, I would have doubled down and said you would have won that game. And then the Purdue game. Sporting cast wasn't great until they were. And I think Kylan would have offered a little something to take a little bit of the onus off of Keaton during that 46-point barrage. I think he would. I don't think that the wins, I don't think any win turns into a loss if Kylan had not gotten hurt. I'll say that. And I don't think he's going to disrupt things coming back. All right, from KD, Keaton is the best. Every star we've had holes in the freshman game. Darren and Kofi turned it over. Iowa had shooting problems. Will and KJ were streaky. Keaton is unbelievable. Yes. So I think, KD, we can say with certainty, the best freshman in Illinois history. That is right now case closed. I'm just saying that we are approaching best player, best single season in Illini history. And I think that might be an important distinction because career numbers, overall achievements, he's not going to be able to do that in 1 year compared to some other guys. Best single season, he's on track for. From D Outlaw, got every piece needed for a deep March run. I agree. And the reason I feel really kind of bullish about that now is the role guys, everyone has a role. And the one I'm still waiting for to feel more consistent and good about it is Stojakovic. But every other guy seems to know their thing. Even Tommy, who has had some struggles. Today, you started to see, as was noted earlier, a little bit of passing out of the high post. He hit some threes in the first half. He looked very fluid out there. I think everybody has their role and they play it well. And it just occurred to me, and at the risk of sounding cheesy, Brad Underwood talks about how connected this team is. I do think it matters. 2 years ago, that team really liked each other. And as they went on their Big Ten tournament run and they made the Elite Eight, you got all these post-game videos and pictures of Brad Underwood in the hot tub with them and all that. That team loved playing with one another. This team does too. I don't know if last year's team had that same thing. Apparently, they all liked each other. So it wasn't beef. 3 years ago, or the Matthew Meyer year, that wasn't the case. So whatever that's worth, that intangible quality, it's just worth keeping in mind. This is a team that I think is relishing this. They're having fun out there. But you know what's cool? They're having fun, but then I see a Mirkovic or even a Tommy and Jake and how they emote. They got a little edge. After the Nebraska game, I came on here, the first one, the loss. And I went on this diatribe about, I want to hear about everyday guys. I want to hear about toughness. Because what we saw right there was one of those Brad Underwood head scratchers that can't happen at home, but it just continues to do so. This team has developed, I think, kind of an edge about them, and they're emotive. And I can't wait to see the post-game video of them in the locker room. And if Tommy could have another guitar to break, I'm sure he would. I like that. I like hearing from David Mirkovic after the Purdue game. And I know he said it half in jest, but maybe not. If I didn't play and we lost, I'd probably kill myself. Whoa! Love it. I love that Jake Davis is throwing that motherfucker ain't going to miss. Great. I love that lack of media training. I love that honesty. I love that these guys actually are okay showing how much they give a shit without, clouding it in a bunch of cliches, which you get so often in these post-game interviews. Keaton Wagler is not going to give you that, but that's his personality. And that's okay. That's why he's already a pro. But I love this sort of warts and all approach. A Mirkovic, for example, who is fast becoming one of my favorite dudes on the team. There was a little stretch there in maybe December where he was getting Georgie levels of goofy, the soccer flops and all that. But then it occurs to me as I'm watching him game after game, bust his ass. And occasionally still soccer flop, embellish, let's say, contact. And I'm like, I love this guy. He's just flying around out there playing his butt off, and he's immensely skilled, and he's got edge. And he says something like that. I killed myself. And it's like, yeah, great, man. They give a shit. So I really do think that this team and the moxie or whatever kind of word you want to throw, they are building that. They have it already. But I think that is something that on February 1st, if you can already kind of visibly see it and feel it in the way they play and the way they carry themselves, and that they're able to corral that edge and not lose control. Yeah, Big Z has a couple dumb technicals this year. He does. And hopefully that's the end of it. But I see Jake Davis yapping after 3. I see Mirkovic yapping back in TKR's face at Purdue after that Timu Will Smith little doofus didn't show up against Illinois in the second half. I love it. Shove it. I like that our team has that about them. And if I were to kick it back up to the top, then there you go. Because that is something that Brad Underwood instills, I think. And when you aren't winning enough games, you're like, oh, God, that's swagger. I call it unearned swag. You win 11 games in a row, and you win 2 top 5 road games in the span of 8 days. You could start, that's earned swag right there. You can puff your chest out a little bit and be the dude. Now let's go win a Big Ten title. I mean, it's right there. Why not? It is right there for this team. And I think they know that. All right. Bobo, Jake Davis, second on the team in scoring, 13 points. The chat is strong this evening, Muddy. It's so cool. We got about 450 people between the 3 streaming services, and we weathered that early technological storm. If you guys don't mind, I've been speaking quite a bit. I need to wet the whistle with, it's not the most hydrating of beverages, but just this delicious old-fashioned. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. From Frodog. I bought the audio version of your book and loved it. Nice listen while driving in my truck on the road. Thank you, Frodog. I'm writing another book right now, but it's not Illini sports related. I'm writing one about my 100 Dave Matthews Band shows. So if you happen to be a Dave Matthews Band fan, look out in the next year or so, because it's going to kind of be the same episodic thing going chronologically through a music perspective. But eventually, I'll do a football one. And you know what I would love? I was thinking about this, Frodog. This team makes the Final Four. We're updating that 200 level book. New chapter. Putting it back up on Amazon. Yeah, we're doing an updated edition. The beauty of that is I knew when I wrote it and when I published it that even the way I ended that last chapter, it is basically I'll see you soon. We're ready to write again whenever this team accomplishes something. And this team is playing as like a team that is well equipped to do just that. All right. From Brick Girl, Brad made an amazing decision hiring someone to run his defense. Absolutely, Brick Girl. You know what it shows, I think, is a willingness to admit, hey, it wasn't good enough. Hey, we were here earlier today talking about Brett Bielema getting rid of Aaron Henry. Stealthily, but still getting rid of him. Right now, Illinois is 24th on Ken Palm in defense. What's the old adage? Like all of the last 20 national champions have shared two metrics: top 20 in KenPom offense and top 20 in KenPom defense. I think that's the thing. There might be one exception. Maybe that random UConn team when Kevin Ollie was their coach. Guys, this team can make a Final Four. You know, it's all about draw and all about getting a little bit of luck your way, for sure. And probably winning one marquee game on the way to do that. They're winning these road games against really good teams. And they're figuring things out, and we still got a lot of ball to play. I don't think this team is maxed out yet. From Bart, a bunch of dudes who don't have egos. I know money talks with NIL, but if Brad had an ass in the locker room, we likely would have found out by now, right? 100%. It's a great point, Bart Miller experience, not the actual Bart Miller, which we'll see if it sounds like he's still going to be our offensive line coach. But at least you won't have to change your name, Bart Miller experience. You can keep it. I think that we would know. We would know. And you'd see it on the court. I mean, these things can't stay hidden. These guys are young enough where that angst or emotion do start bubbling up. Like you would observe it in some way, shape, or form. All right, from Bobo, Keaton Wagler in the last 3 games. 32 points per game. 5.7 assists per game. 60% from the field. Let's see here. 62.5% from 3. Is that right, Bobo? I mean, it would make sense. He was 9 for 11 from Purdue. Brick Girl says, I had no idea he scored that many because the game just felt like everyone was doing work. I think that's it, Brick Girl. It's like 28 points. I had to double check the box score and say, 28? Really? Yeah, 28. It makes sense, of course, because he's just that freaking good. But it did feel like more of a team effort because I think it was. Keaton's going to be the alpha dude. He's going to score the most points. That's okay. There are going to be games, by the way, though, where you saw Jake Davis. He went 3 for 6 from 3. You saw Tommy. I want to make sure I get this right here. From 3 as well. 2 for 4. Keaton was 4 for 9 because, of course, he was. I mean, that's even that, like 4 for 9 from 3 is ridiculously good. 10 of 12 from the line. Just a freaking stud, man. He's so stone cold. But no, to that point, I think that because it didn't feel like the one-man show, that's because it wasn't. And imagine, Brick Girl, when we get into a situation where, let's say it is a Sweet 16 matchup, there is nothing stopping a Jake Davis or a Tommy or a Benham Rickhouse, who I know didn't make his threes today, from being that guy to go red hot alongside Keaton. Options aplenty. And the good news is you could withstand today an 0 for 6 from 3 performance from Benham Rickhouse. He got his minutes, guys. He played 20 minutes. He got his looks. He did not score. It didn't hurt you because of all the other options he got. From Kevin, good games from the Ivisic brothers. Nice to see Davis snap out of his little funk. Not a lot from Stojakovic, but he had a huge bucket and one late. Yes, I think it was all about the second half for him, maybe the last 10 minutes. Kevin, to be more specific. You smoking that Led Zeppelin. Keaton isn't better than Io. What Io did was lead a team that wasn't better than this team when they were both freshmen. I love both teams, but let's stop the cap. I like Io, but Keaton's better. He just is. Now, in fairness, Chicago Sports Cipher, in fairness to that, okay, if you were to ask fairly, well, how can you make that argument? How can you say that Keaton Wagler is better than Io DeSumo? I should probably pump the brakes on that in this regard. Io did it over 3 years, more specifically his last year and a half was a special run, right? There were clutch games and moments from him that accumulated, and that is a difficult thing to quantify and say, well, like clutch numbers, what does that mean? I just know Io seemed to have like 10 different game-winning or game-sealing shots. Maybe my point would be more this. Io came in. He was the first big dude that Brad Underwood brought in. He helped turn this program around. I think Jeremy Warner made the comp to Eddie Johnson with Lou Henson way back in the day. Eddie was not, by the time Lou Henson was done, considered the best player that Lou had. But he was the first, and he was essential to all the success through the 80s, right? But there was a Nick Anderson, and there was a Kendall Gill. And there was a Kenny Battle. And there was Ken Norman. Even the guys in the 83, 84 team. But, Eddie Johnson, for as good as he was, and he's got his jersey in the rafters like Io does. Keaton makes a run with this team. I think his legacy is stronger than Io's. I don't know if that's fair or not, but the truth of the matter is March success means the most. And that is for every fan base and every program. It just is. This dude makes a Final Four. He will be more highly regarded by Illinois fans than Io, and he frankly should be. I hate to say this, Io's performance against Loyola, and it was the whole team, but he did not show up that day. So I can't have Io higher than an Eddie Johnson in terms of impact on the program. That is undeniable. What he started. I'm just saying that, even from just a straight basketball perspective, you take all the narratives and legacy aside, I'm seeing things from Keaton Wagler that I did not see from Io. Certainly not at that age, but even sometimes in that final year. Yes, Io had 2 triple-doubles his junior year. The dude was unbelievable. He was an All-American. Keaton Wagler right now is an All-American. I really hope there's enough time here in this year for people to not disregard the freshman thing. He's an All-American right now. He's the Big Ten Player of the Year. It's not Yaxel Lendenborg. It's not anyone on Michigan. It ain't Braden Smith. It's Keaton Wagler. Io, I believe, was the Player of the Year in the Big Ten in 21. I'm pretty sure. Unless, E.J. Liddell, or did Michigan have it? Hunter Dickinson? I think it was Io. But I don't know, man. It's conversation. And as I sit here right now, I just think he's better. I just think he is. If I had to start a team, I'm taking freshman year Keaton Wagler over junior year Io DeSumo. I am. I think that team has a better chance of making a run. I don't know if that's crazy. Maybe it is, but hey. From Bart Miller, Illini fans, enjoy every minute of this. We know all too well that each year brings in something different. Every college hoops prognosticator and talking head will continue talking them up. Enjoy it. Good point, Bart Miller. And we felt this in 21. I remember the first time they unveiled in mid-February the seedings. It was sort of like a college football preview show, but it was for basketball. And, there's Illinois, a 1 seed. What the hell happened? Guys, whenever they do that, if it's in the next couple weeks on CBS, you're going to be 1 or 2 seed. You beat Michigan State, you'll be a 1 seed in that first unveiling. So, yes, enjoy it. You're going to be talked about. Keaton Wagler is a national story. So, soak it in, baby. From Kevin, remember when Petrovic was going to be our point guard? Yeah, Kevin, I think that when all the smoke was coming out this offseason or this fall about Wagler, that started to shift. And I thought, I think Petro is probably like 20 minutes off the bench because you need ball handlers. I assume Colin Boswell would be the ball handler. He's not. He plays off guard, which has been working for him, but it's crazy. From Bobo, Illinois now 6-0 on the road versus Big Ten. And from Bobo, Keaton Wagler is now 9th on Ken Palm's Player of the Year standings. And Bobo, I think with that, Ken Palm has to go sometimes with previous production to have kind of a context to go off of. So I feel like freshmen sometimes are underrated on that system. But yeah, he's an All-American. He's the Big Ten Player of the Year. I'm telling you, I'm going to be so pissed off if Braden Smith gets it. I know what he's done in his career. Keaton Wagler is better than him. He just is. Right now, ask yourself this. And I know we're bleeding orange and blue. I know we're biased. You got to make a run in March. Are you taking Braden Smith or Keaton Wagler? I know my answer. Because there's things that Keaton Wagler can do that Braden Smith cannot. I can't flip that argument. Braden Smith is a fantastic college basketball player, one of the best in Big Ten recent history. That's how good Keaton Wagler is that I would say something like that. All right. From Muddy, Davis coming back was huge compared to Ben. Henrich's minutes have to go down when Boswell comes back. I think so. Here's the thing, Muddy. He shot 6 threes today. For Ben, I want him shooting 3 to 4. And when Boswell comes back, that will be his usage. He just has to make 1 or 2 a game. That's it. Meager expectations. That's why his 4 threes against Washington felt so good. It's like, hey, you're off the schneid. Just get 2. Couldn't do it. Too streaky. And those minutes will go down. But when he is out there, you can count on his defense and rebounding. From Bobo, Illinois has 15 wins versus top 10 teams since 2019, second behind Kansas, who has 17. Impressive as hell. From Brick Girl, when was the last time we haven't had a bad loss at this point in the season? Never. Brick Girl, not in the Underwood era. So if you're asking that, then you'd have to go back to 04-05. Oh boy, those are some lofty goals right there. But yeah, you don't have a bad loss. From Kevin, unsung hero for this team has been composure, no doubt. From David, Keaton and the Euros don't get rattled. From Muddy, Terrence got robbed by a DA in Kansas. Yeah, you're right. He was an All-American. That was unfortunate, to say the least. All right, the women right now from Bobo are up 37-29 at the half at number 25 Washington. Shauna Green, man. And from Brickroll, when was your first DMB show? 2002. So I'm hitting my 100th show this summer in Indy. From Greg, what team scares you the most in the tourney? But Arizona, Michigan, UConn come to mind for him. Good news is, you keep playing like this, Greg, you would not face Michigan before the Final Four, right? They are not going to put... I still think they get a 1 seed because they just backlogged all those wins with such big margins. I don't think they're going to slip. They're that good. You just might be that good too. So you wouldn't face them until the Final Four. Let's hope no repeat of 89. I would love to get the Final Four, though, no matter what. Arizona for sure. UConn for sure. This is why maybe playing your way to that one line is massive. Duke, super talented. Houston, tricky because they still got that defense and they got that stud freshman. You're going to have to beat an elite team to probably get to a Final Four. But this team's capable of that. I think you just want to get a good enough seed where you don't have more road bumps than necessary. And from Jazzy, I mentioned that Ken Pom thing. He thinks that top 20 offense, top 30 defense is the formula to win a title. Well, I'm sure we'll find that somewhere between now and the tournament. And yeah, from Jazzy, how are the eyes feeling today? I don't know if they look any bloodshot in the camera. Hi, everybody. And essentially what it was, I was getting a little surly during the Washington game because my eyes were just fatigued. I was like, oh, I want to shut him and this game won't end. And it started at 8:15 and his name's Danny Sprinkle. I can't do that shit. So they're doing very good. They are bloody on the outside, which might be difficult to see in the camera. But the key thing is why I did it. My left eye was misaligned my entire life. Lazy eye, it was well inward. So this was the second procedure. It was a follow-up. They go in there, they work with the muscles themselves, tighten and loosen as needed to get them aligned. And she basically got it 100%. And it is vain, admittedly, to want that. It wasn't affecting my vision necessarily, but it was something that when I found out you could do that, I looked into it, and I'm so happy I did, because now I spent years trying to figure out how to compensate and look at people with certain angles so they wouldn't pick up on the alignment. Now I can just look you right in the face. And what I need to do is try to figure out some way that I can have the camera and the computer looking, because I'm looking at myself in the computer and looking at the chat window. The camera's right there. So there we go. Sorry, that little bloodshot perhaps. All right, from Aaron, last Big Ten Player of the Year was Brian Cook. So Aaron, who won it in 2021? Wow. Hunter Dickinson? That little D-bag? No, he's probably a nice guy. Maybe he's not. Actually, I don't care. Whatever. Played for 8 years in college. All right. Brickle, you're December 2000 at MSG. Nice. I would love to see them at MSG. I think they're doing a fall tour this fall. That's all the DMB talk I'll give you guys today. But guys, what a win. What a team. What a special player. What a coaching job by Brad Underwood. Davis in 2021. Davis. Which Davis? Why do I feel like I'm an idiot here? Johnny Davis. Oh. Okay, no, there we go, KD. Garza in 20 and 21. Barf. Fine. Iowa's better. But Keaton's better than Io. I'm just saying. He is. All right. I appreciate you guys tuning in. This was fun. This team is fun. Did not expect this. I don't think any of us did. But I thought we knew from early on this was a talented team. They looked at early on, and then they had some speed bumps. The way they responded and what they've turned into and what they can still turn into from here is so exciting. So let's enjoy the ride. I'll be back Wednesday. It's going to be a late one. I won't be that I'm going to be annoyed with Northwestern. It's not going to be about Illinois. It's going to be about Northwestern and then just being pesky and annoying. And then, ugh. But hopefully you can find some joy in my surliness. But this is something else, guys. St. Dom, as he said, I did not expect this either, Carp. And hey, St. Dom, I know this guy. He's got a high bar for Illinois sports to clear right now. Brad Underwood is certainly doing that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before I go, just a reminder, best way to support our podcast is to support our sponsors. That includes Hamilton Walkers in downtown Champaign, Steak, Seafood, and Spirits, State Farm agent Brian Hansen, online at brianismyguy.com, Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. Give them a call, 217-841-4728. And Owen Builders LLC, online at owenbuildersllc.com. All right, guys. Hell of a stretch. I think we're just getting started. We'll be back Wednesday night and do the second half for Illinois Northwestern. And then I will be in Michigan this weekend, not at the game, but on Sunday. Before the Super Bowl, I don't give a crap about the Super Bowl. Sometime Sunday, late afternoon, we'll recap whatever happens at Michigan State, which is to say a win, because that's what this team is going to do. I have very little doubt about that. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you in a few days. Illinois basketball, 11 straight. Probably going to be a top 5 team. They should be tomorrow in the AP poll. And looking maybe at a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Remarkable. This is fun. It is the 200 level.